felt like, they had like, a whole lot of potential. Jay was more quiet. But I mean, I learned that Jay was being quiet because he was taking notes. He was taking notes, observing everything, taking it all in, because, sometimes you're around and you're watching to see things to do.
When Big Daddy Kane spoke, the entire hip-hop world shook. And not just because he's a legend from rap's golden era, but because what he said wasn't just shade. It was surgical. This wasn't casual criticism. This was a breakdown of a legacy, and Jay-Z was at the center of it. Kane, the Brooklyn icon who once mentored a young Sean Carter before the world knew him as Jay-Z, just dropped a truth bomb that's got the whole industry buzzing. He didn't just say Jay-Z made it to the top. He hinted that Jay engineered the climb, even if it meant stepping over the very legends who paved the road, including Kane himself and the unstoppable 2Pac Shakur. Let me know if you want part 2 or need a thumbnail text line too.
Jay-Z, I heard that no one really wanted to sign him when you were shopping him around the record labels. Is that true?
Yeah. This was, I want to say, I don't know, 90, 91 maybe. We was, we recorded some songs, probably about 4 or 5 songs on Jay-Z, and shopped them to several different record labels, and they all passed.
The allegation wasn't casual. Kane, respected for both his bars and brotherhood, wasn't just speaking loosely. He named names. He didn't paint Jay-Z's rise as pure hustle. He framed it as cold strategy. Kane says Jay used him, and later 2Pac, as stepping stones. If true, it's not just ambition. It's betrayal set to a beat. In a culture built on codes and loyalty, that's heavy. How many believe Jay-Z climbed on grind alone? Kane says, look closer, follow the footprints left on fallen giants, and then the whisper. A story whispered through the halls of hip-hop. They say 2Pac once pulled Kane aside at a party in LA, bandana on, eyes blazing. He didn't warn him about beef or the feds. He warned him about Jay-Z. Said something felt off. That Jay wasn't just ambitious, he was calculated. Maybe even dangerous.
That thing, and I was big man. That was the extent of our beef.
Let's be real. Shakur didn't speak lightly. He wasn't warning about talent. He was warning about intention. Did 2Pac see a future mogul forming behind the mask of a street rhymer? Did he sense moves happening? Ones that could crown Jay-Z not just Biggie's heir, but his own? Allegedly, Kane brushed it off. Maybe he thought it was just label drama. But if there's one thing he might regret, it's not listening more closely that night. Because months later, Shakur was gone. And Jay-Z, rising. Now twist the knife. The Source Awards. Tension thick. Egos louder than the bass. But behind the curtain, something else brewed. Whispers say this was the night Jay-Z linked up with another power player. The one and only Puffy. Yes, Diddy. The same man now drowning in lawsuits and headlines. Back then, sources claim he and Jay made more than peace. They made a pact.
You understand? I think that they don't want, if they was in any of those freak-off tapes, if they played a part in any of those Diddy sessions, they don't want it to get out to the general public to make up their brand.
Imagine two future moguls, one eyeing fashion, the other chasing the music crown. Did they make a silent deal that night? One that would push out anyone unwilling to play dirty? Was that the moment Jay-Z left behind the loyalty of old school kings, Kane, Shakur, even Biggie, and chose the colder path of empire building? The timeline fits too well. By decade's end, Jay wasn't a protege. He was the industry. But it's not just Kane's words that hit hard. It's the bigger picture. Jay-Z, once hustling in Marcy's stairwells, is now the world's richest musician. He built everything from champagne and streaming to luxury cannabis brands. He once told Vanity Fair the streets taught him margins and inventory. But here's the real question. Was hip-hop just another product to flip? And were the friendships just bridges meant to be burned once crossed?
He couldn't let an East Coast rapper like Beanie Siegel blow up. Because him and Diddy was giving that deal, we gotta keep these East Coast rappers down. Because down south rappers, Cash Money, No Limit, Ludacris and them, they was taking little money and bringing back more money and making more money for them.
As the accusations mount, the past gets harder to ignore. 50 Cent, never one to hold back, just publicly blasted Jay-Z for backing Diddy. This wasn't petty, it was a warning flare in an already suspicious timeline. Friends to the NJ, are you still there? He posted, dragging Jay back into Diddy's collapsing orbit. 50 isn't being subtle. He's daring Jay-Z to pick a side, to step out from Rock Nation's shadows. Then come the photos. Jay and Diddy smiling, posing. Once harmless. Now, they look like evidence. With Diddy facing charges from trafficking to conspiracy and TikTok full of dark whispers, Jay-Z's silence is starting to feel suspicious. 2Pac tried to sound the alarm. Now, Kane's doing it again. Louder, wiser, even Jaguar Wrights resurfaced, calling out Jay and Beyonce as a nasty little couple. So we ask, was this empire built on betrayal and backroom deals? Or did Jay-Z just play the game better than anyone ever dared?
And that was to destroy East Coast rap. And what I mean by that, and I know people gonna be like, yo, Gene is out of his mind and everything like that. Check this out, brother.
The 1996 Source Awards were already tense. Suge Knight had taken his infamous shot the year before. Death Row and Bad Boy were locked in a silent war, and everyone felt it. But behind the chaos, something else may have gone down. Not beef, not a diss, a meeting between two rising powerhouses, Jay-Z and Diddy. Insiders now whisper that the cameras missed a key moment. A former Def Jam staffer claims Jay and Diddy vanished backstage for nearly 20 minutes. When they returned, something had changed. Suddenly, Jay was everywhere. On the radio, in studios, making deals. Doors that had been locked, wide open. Diddy, already deep in the system, seemed to pull Jay into his orbit. Was it just smart business? Or was it a quiet power grab? A pact between two men who knew only one could wear the crown?
After they are done with Diddy, Jay-Z is up next to be exposed, right?
From that moment on, their paths seemed locked together. Jay-Z's rise went into overdrive. Diddy's empire kept growing. And slowly, certain rival voices faded. Some in presence, some in power. Was that 1996 meeting the start of a hidden alliance? One that shaped hip-hop from the shadows? Today, Diddy faces a storm of serious allegations, from trafficking to whispered ties to Shakur's final days. And standing beside it all, untouched, at least publicly, is Jay-Z. That brings us back to 2Pac. Everyone remembers his war with Biggie, but with Jay-Z, it was different, quieter, sharper, more personal. Pac saw something in him, not just a rapper, but a tactician. Shakur wore his pain openly. Jay-Z moved like smoke, only visible when the light hit just right. And maybe that's why Pac watched him so closely. Not out of fear of violence, but fear of vision.
Jay-Z new video with Nas and DJ Khaled is a scene with checkerboards. These are all occult Satanists.
Shakur didn't see hip-hop as a business. He saw it as a revolution. So when Jay-Z emerged with polished flows and corporate ties, Pac didn't see progress, he saw betrayal. They want you dancing in clubs, drinking Cristal, he once said, eyes burning with frustration. He rarely named Jay-Z directly. The insiders say the message was crystal clear. To Pac, Jay wasn't just another rapper, he was the face of rap's gentrification. A hustler smiling at cameras, pulling strings behind velvet curtains. Then, just as that silent tension threatened to boil, Shakur was gone. Jay-Z, silent. No tributes, no verses, no eulogy. Some say it was respect. Others say it was insulation. Fewer words, fewer threads to tug. And maybe that was the strategy. Because Jay-Z never played checkers. He played chess. If Shakur had lived, would he have dragged Jay-Z into the ring too? Or was he removed before he could disrupt the entire game?
You know, the guy's not here. And you gotta figure, we never met.
So you and Tupac never met. That was just...
So it's nothing personal.
Back then, his silence was seen as maturity, a smart move to avoid the East versus West chaos. But with time and a long list of scandals shadowing his inner circle, that silence looks more calculated. While others were caught in diss wars, media drama, and public blame, Jay stayed quiet. Not just out of respect, but maybe for survival. No verses, no defense, no alliances. One wrong word could have made him a target. That silence, it might have saved his life or built his image into something untouchable. Was he avoiding beef or positioning himself as the next center of the industry while others burned at the edges? Diddy's world turned bloody. Death Row self-destructed. But Jay-Z, he stood still, said nothing, and watched the storm pass. Was that luck or a master plan? Because maybe this was never just about rap. Maybe it was always about control.
This is what I look for. When I see a success, I'm looking for anything
to say that they didn't do it on their own?
Detain it. Not to say it.
Psychologically, it was brilliant. In a culture where noise equals dominance, Jay-Z chose silence. No tributes, no retaliation, no engagement. That quiet gave him cover from all sides. No alliances, no vendettas, just patience. He waited. And when others fell, he walked right down the middle. When the smoke cleared, Jay-Z wasn't just surviving, he was rising. Some now wonder, why didn't he ever speak on Shakur's death? Not because he owed it, but because everyone else did. Rappers gave interviews. Fans shared theories. Magazines ran exposés. Jay? Not a word. Not even a stray bar in a verse. His silence around one of rap's greatest losses felt cold. Not emotional distance, but strategic detachment. And looking back, it wasn't just a gap. It was a calculated omission.
Is it really a conspiracy if the same person keeps benefiting off the same kind of tragedy over and over?
Here's where things turn darker. That calm silence Jay-Z mastered, it looks less like fear and more like strategy. Even back then, he was close to powerful mentors, some now drowning in lawsuits and federal heat. Did Jay-Z already know what not to say? Which threads not to pull? Maybe that silence wasn't caution. Maybe it was confidence. The kind that comes from knowing too much and never needing to explain. While others shouted and got targeted, Jay stayed quiet. And when the chaos cleared, he was the one left standing, the king. Fast forward to now, Diddy's world is in flames. FBI raids, lawsuits, scandals, victims speaking out. And Jay-Z? Still silent, still untouched, still in the shadows. Is it loyalty? Is it fear? Or does he simply know too much to speak?
Jay-Z got his ass whooped by his sister-in-law on camera. What's her name? Solange. You got his ass. The feds ain't step in and do nothing. The feds don't care about you getting your...
Even 50 Cent, never one to hold back, has gone public with his shots at Jay-Z. Jay, are you still there? He mocked. But behind the joke was a serious question. Did Jay-Z ride shotgun on Diddy's rise, knowing where it might lead? Or was he just standing too close when the fire caught? His name doesn't appear in charges, but it never disappears either. Always nearby, always present. And come the TikTok conspiracies. The jokes, the symbols, the J. Cole lyrics. Some of it's wild, but some of it makes you stop. Because when the same names circle the same scandals, you start asking, is this coincidence or cover? Jaguar Wright calls Jay and Beyonce a nasty little couple. She says she knows victims. She says she knows secrets. And the silence, still there, where a denial should have been easy.
I want you to think about this. Allegedly, Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hype Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him, and so he could level up Beyonce, who was struggling.
So now, we're not just looking at Jay-Z the mogul, we're looking at Jay-Z the myth. A man who rose from street corners to boardrooms with surgical precision. Who married the most powerful woman in music. Partnered with billion-dollar brands and built a legacy no one dares question. But under the marble floors and platinum plaques, how many bridges lie buried? How many were silenced, sidelined, or erased? 'Cause let's be real. No one climbs that high without stepping on something or someone. So we ask, is Jay-Z's empire built on genius or cold calculation? Strategic brilliance or silent deals in the dark? Could hip-hop's greatest businessman also be its most dangerous player? And if even some of these whispers are true, what else is still hidden? You tell us, is Jay-Z the survivor or the architect? Stay curious, stay questioning, and stay tuned.